season's almost over, but we've got one round left, and this is it. We go back to where it all began, SantaPods, for the final round of the FIA and FIM European Drag Racing Championships. But it only seemed like yesterday we were at Hockenheim.
Well, it certainly feels like it, Louise. First, in Pro Stock Bike, Frederick Friedland wrapped up a great weekend by taking that final round win down there. Also, he leads the championship coming into this weekend. Samu Kampanen took the win in Christian Jaeger's backyard, and he also took the points lead away from him as well, most importantly, coming into SantaPod. And for top fuel bike, Ian King, well, undefeated so far this season. That continued in Hockenheim.
So it's been a cracking season so far. It ends here at SantaPod. It's going to get busy on the tarmac later. What have you got to look forward to?
Ian King's just about ran and hid, I think, from the rest of the bike field. Super Twin is the one that needs to be decided, Christian Jaeger or Samu Kampanen. And Pro Stock Bike, again, is going to be going to Orland and Frederick Friedland.
That is Pro Stock Bike we go to first of all. Frederick Friedland, that man I just mentioned there, won the championship just simply by getting his bike scrutineered at the beginning of the weekend. Seen here in qualifying against his nemesis so far this year. Well, I didn't say racing partner, not necessarily nemesis, because Gert-Jan Lesueur hasn't beaten Freddie at any point during the season. Fred takes the number one with another 7.0 second run.
So Freddie, you qualified top. Not really a surprise, again.
Yeah, we have again succeeded to be number one qualifier. I excelled at all the event this year, and that was our target goal. And we have been working hard for that.
On to the Super Twins, and what a class this has been this summer. Very, very open indeed. Ronnie Olsen, the defending champ, has definitely not had it all his own way, and this is more proof of that. For MPM and the Netherlands, Martin de Haas ran a personal best down in the sixes for the first time back at FIM round one. This time round, all over the place, manages to hang on to it and run a 6.6 for the top spot.
This has been a great season to have still never been in the sixes. In the main event this year we had a 6.7, now topped it off with a 6.6. That's amazing. The crew been working so hard. They had so many problems in the beginning. In the first couple of years we had the bike. MPM always stick with us as sponsoring, and now it all comes together, and this was a perfect run yesterday, and I hope there's more to come today.
Ian, your season has been absolutely immense. You're doing something right. It must come down to your bike. First of all, this might sound a silly question, but your bike is absolutely spotless.
Okay.
Is that for show, or is that actually a technical requirement?
It's not a technical requirement, but we've always liked to have nice-looking bikes, you know, if nothing else, to create attention. But there's also that sort of saying about sort of tidy minds and tidy bikes, you know. So, you know, if we take pride in the way the bike looks, we also take pride in the way we prepare the bike ready for the race.
How do the weather conditions affect the track, and then what do you do to the bike?
Okay, well, the first thing is we have a weather computer. It's like a little mini meteorological station, and it tells us basically how much oxygen is in the air. So on the basis of that, then we can start making some decisions on how much fuel percentage we're going to run in the engine, because in drag racing you're not allowed to have an ECU, which is the electronic brain that most vehicles have nowadays, where they measure things such as that and then automatically adjust them. We have to adjust them prior to the run. The difference with us is we run nitromethane as a fuel, which is an explosive rather than a fuel, so we have to be very careful. We're also supercharged. When we buy the nitromethane, it's classed as 100%, so it's 100% pure. We also then dilute the nitromethane with methanol. And the reason for doing that is to actually reduce the amount of oxygen going into the engine. It sounds a bit odd, but basically when we measure the air itself, we're looking to see how much oxygen there is. If there's lots of oxygen, we want to put less oxygen in the engine.
Right.
And we do that by diluting the nitromethane that contains the oxygen to bring it down to a level where everything's, if you like, on parity. The problem is if you don't do that, you can run very lean or you can run very rich. If you run very rich, you'll drop a cylinder. That means putting a spark plug out. If you run very lean, you can burn things up in the engine.
This is qualifying for Top Fuel Bike. Ian King has already wrapped up the championship coming into this weekend. So far undefeated this summer, would you believe? And he's out in qualifying against Otto Kniebel, all the way from the Czech Republic. That beautiful view on the back of the Golf bike, something you wouldn't normally expect to see, but a very welcome vantage point all the same. These things are just unbelievable to watch. Can't imagine what they must be like to ride. So Ian King brings it forward into stage. Chief starter Ian Marshall says it's all yours. Well, almost as soon as he cracks the throttle, Ian King leaning off to the side of the bike to keep it in a straight line. And he takes the #1 spot once again, down in the 6.0s.
So, qualified top?
Yes.
6.05?
Yes.
Happy with that?
Very happy with that, although it was so close to a 5, we're a little bit disappointed. So, but happy with where we are.
So we're on to racing, and one of the highlights, if you can call it that, of the first round of Top Fuel Bike. Near lane, Phil Papaphilippou, all the way from Greece, ran a new personal best in qualifying down in the 6.5s up against Steve Woolard. So you've got Funny Bike against Top Fuel Bike in this first round of competition. I'm going to shut up. This is incredible. Now, right at this point, don't worry. Yes, they hit each other, but Phil is actually sitting on the wheelie bars of Steve Woolard's bike, would you believe? He came off the bike, landed squarely with his backside right in the middle of the wheelie bars, and you can see him, there we go, he's got his leg caught, but he's actually just about A-OK. He was way out in front of Steve, tried to avoid him as best he could, and possibly the luckiest man in the world. Go get yourself 100 lottery tickets, Phil. He's absolutely okay. Semi-final time in FIM Pro Stock Bike, and a new face to reach this stage of the competition is that man in the near lane. Kenneth Holmberg, the Sui Composite bike, up against Frederick Friedland. Big ask for Kenneth, but he's run personal best this weekend down in the 7.2s. Freddie, though, has been in the 7.0s the whole time, and he does it again through to another final with a 7.06. Kenneth Holmberg drops off a little bit to 7.34, but hopefully he'll be happy with his weekend and his trip to SantaPod Raceway. On the other side of the ladder, Gert-Jan Lesueur, still trying to beat Frederick Friedland after all this time with the Ural Buell up against Karl-Heinz Weikum. Far side of the track from that camera shot with the Suzuki, and it was Gert-Jan getting a whole shot on the German rider, and he takes the win with a 7.21 to a 7.19. That is what you call pro stock bike racing. Highlights from round 1 of the Super Twins matched up the 2 championship title contenders. In the lead in the points, Samu Kampanen from Finland. Due to qualifying and where they were, he ended up racing Christian Jaeger in round 1. If Samu won this, he'd win the title. If Christian won, he'd need to keep on winning. But unbelievably, look at that. Samu, just at the finish line, takes out the blocks, disqualifies himself when he would have taken the round win if he'd have just kept it in his lane, and gives Christian Jaeger a lifeline in the championship. Now, Christian won that round. If he keeps on winning, he will be the champion over Samu. So we're now in the Super Twin semi-finals with the title still to be decided. Before we get to the pivotal race, we're going to see Martin de Haas. Now, he gets a bye run due to the odd lot field and the fact he was #1 qualifier. Been down in the 6s just about every run this weekend for the MPM bike. This one was no different. Just the way he rides that bike is incredible. Goes 675, 212 miles an hour, leaning off to the side of the bike, mostly not going in a straight line. Other side of the ladder, key race in the championship. If Christian Jaeger wins this race, he needs to win the final as well to take the title. But standing in his way is Joop Hazen from the Netherlands. If Joop wins this one, it will be Samu Kampainen from Finland taking the title. So far this weekend, Christian Jaeger really hasn't had a good weekend. And problems for him again, can't quite keep the bike on the power. It is Joop Hazen taking the win, and that decides the title in favour of Samu Kampainen. Moving into top fuel bike. Shot of the day in round one. That man right there on the Imperial Wizard, all the way from the Czech Republic, mind. That's Otto Kniebel. He took out Ian King. Ian was undefeated going into that race, but unfortunately had big-time engine problems and a little bit of a fire to boot, unfortunately. Not the way he wanted to end another championship season, but he will still be picking up the big trophy at the end of the weekend. So Otto Kniebel with a bye run to take his place in his first ever FIM Top Fuel Bike Final. Takes it nice and easy and rolls on through the finish line. Fortunately, without a passenger on the back of the bike, which is something that's a bit unusual today for a Top Fuel bike. On the other side of the ladder, the perennial terrier at the Top Fuel bike's heels, that is Rickard Gustafsson with the funny bike. Far side of the racetrack, as you look at it right now, up against the man with a passenger seat on the bike, Steve Woolak. He managed to remove the Greek guy from the back of the dealer, and he's back into racing. If nothing else, I've got to say, it was great to see that Phil was okay, but big credit to Steve Woolak and the team as well for coming back round for this semi-final run. The bike obviously absolutely undamaged. Credit to the experience of not only the team, but definitely that rider as well. Steve's been around a long time. That's the freakiest thing I've ever seen happen. Anyway, place in the final against Otto Kniebel beckons for one of these two. They both run mid to low sixes. Steve Woolak flies the front wheel. And once again, no problem at all. It's Steve Woolak going to be in the final. Who would have thought that after what happened in round one?
Well, everybody expects the track here at SantaPod to be in perfect condition, but that is not an accident. It's down to a lot of hard work and a science.
What we've got here is a traction device. Between the two sets of wheels, front and rear, it's looking for a differential of adhesion in the racing surface. Drag racing works on the amount of traction that is available to the racer, and this gives us a set of parameters that tell us how much adhesion the track's basically creating. As you saw earlier, there was another team out that had a similar device. They know, based on the information that they're coming back and the previous data from the track on different events, how much track's available. They can then go back to their black book, if you like, of previous data, which they know how fast they were able to run with a specific amount of traction. Bearing in mind the track's only, just under 2 years old. If you look at the track surface, you can see that there's still tiny gaps in the rubber. For the track to be essentially perfect, all those gaps will have disappeared, and over a period of time that will happen. But that's just down to cars going up the track, us preparing the track surface with our sled, and using the various compounds to fill those gaps. It's not perfect, but that's what we're always aiming for, of course. Its use and applying more rubber to the surface that makes the track that much better. And based on the information that we get back from our shark, we know what we need to do to tune the track, to improve it, move stuff around, just to get it the best that we possibly can.
It's pretty peaceful here in the bike pits at the moment, but that is about to change.
Indeed it is. Final for Super Street Bike, and this will decide the European Championship Cup crown. Steve Venables, that man right there, had not the greatest seasons by his own normal high standards. Up against Gary Bow. Gary Bow won it all, still wears the #1. These two were nowhere near the top of the points table before the weekend, just the way it's shaken out. Coming into this final, Gary Bow's had the quickest elapsed time, but unfortunately the bike picks up the front wheel at the start line. If Steve can keep it hooked, indeed he does. Both of them over 200 miles now. Steve with a 7:20.
To be honest, I don't think I was in for a chance. You know, we're Hockenheim and things, and you know, as you can tell, I've got the shakes. It means it's a good run.
Well, the title for Pro Stock Bike already decided, but one more race between these two rivals have been battling it out all across Europe this summer. The Ural Buell from the Netherlands, that's Gert-Jan Lesueur. He's had a pretty good year and a pretty good weekend as well, down in the 7-1s. He went 7:17 in qualifying. Frederick Friedland seems to be, unfortunately for him, stuck in the 7-0s. Might even have a new nickname of 7-0 Freddy, you never know. He's been looking to get just over the hump into the 6s. The engine in that bike, and he has been in the 6s in the States, but he hasn't managed to do it in Europe. Perfect track conditions, perfect weather all weekend, and it's really frustrating the team that they can't get it just that little bit quicker. On board with Gert-Jan. Oh my goodness, that's a scary view, especially for him as well, because Frederick Friedland was out in front. Another 7-0, 7.04. Surely you can't be disappointed with that after having such a great season. Undefeated all summer on the Play Amongst Friends Suzuki. Takes another title.
We really wanted to have the 6-second pass, and we were really trying this event, but unfortunately we're still a 7-0 Freddy.
Another class that's been hugely exciting all summer. The championship's already been decided in the favour of Samu Kampanen from Finland, but it's an all-Netherlands affair to settle the big trophy for the finals weekend. Near lane right there, Job Hayson, and he's up against the MPM bike of Martin de Haas. Martin's been in the 6s all weekend. Job's finally getting to grips with the drag specialities bike. Was down in the 6s the run before. This should be a great run between these two. Both the way almost dead even with the wheels in the air. That's a proper super twin race. Job has to shut off just before the finish line. It is Martin de Haas with another PB, 6.62. Well over 200 miles an hour again. Look at this again in replay. It's almost like they're a mirror image of each other. They're just fantastic to watch when they're like that.
All thanks to the crew and the guys who are working so hard. MPM Oil for backing us up. So this is like a dream come true. Bike still one piece, so couldn't be more happy. Excellent weekend.
Well, in top fuel bike, last man standing, quite literally after one hell of a day, is Steve Woollett. He had a passenger ride in the first round. He beat Rikard Gustafsson in the semi. And he was due to be racing Otto Kniebel from the Czech Republic, but Otto had problems after his semi-final run, so he'll still be getting the runner-up position this weekend. But after the way the day started out, Steve Woollett absolutely deserves this with the dealer, and he's not taking it easy at all. Another flying run. Right on a new personal best as well. He's run 6:26 before, just slightly quicker, but what a great way to end probably one of his strangest days ever.
Do you think you'll be picking up the big trophy at the end of the day?
No, basically, but you tend to go quicker when you haven't got a passenger, so you know.
Yeah,
that helps.
That's got to be quite the weekend. Well, anyway, congratulations. We've got to hand back to the start line, but you definitely earned it today.
Thank you very much.
No problem at all.
Well, Darryl, we're at the part of the track that no one really sees, where they turn off after they finish the racing. They've found out if they've won the race, they've found out if they've won the championship. We've had plenty of thrills and spills this weekend, haven't we?
We've had almost too much. It's been almost too much to bear. Ian King looking to wrap up a really good season, but I think he blew the engine up big style. And then we had all sorts of drama with the accident in the first round. Steve Woollett taking the event win as well, with a passenger in round one, which is what he just said. Unbelievable. And then in Super Twin Bike, you had the race between Samu Kampanen and Christian Jaeger for the title. Samu took the blocks out. It looks like it was all going to be Christian's, but no. Christian out in the semi-finals, and that final win to very well-deserved Martin de Haas. And Pro Stock Bike, Freddie had it sewn up coming in here. He just came here for a bit of fun, a bit of testing. Still quite didn't get in the stand in the sixes, but we're going to call him 7-0 Fred now forevermore.
What a weekend it's been, and I'm pleased to say that everyone that was involved in an accident is safe.
Absolutely fine, and it is, well, you know, when it wasn't quick, it was spectacular, it was hairy, but it's everything that drag racing is supposed to be. It was just pure entertainment.
I'm with an absolute legend that's making a return to SantaPod. Freddie, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Have you missed us?
Yeah, I miss you very much. I've been in 3 years or something.
3 years. Why did you leave?
We have lots of working home in Sweden. We don't have the time.
You don't have the time, but now you're back.
We miss you. Now I'm back to the lovely track, lovely crowd, everything, lovely girl.
Thank you very much.
Everything is here.
The crowd absolutely love you, and they love you for your burnouts. Tell us about those. Why do you do them?
I love to burn, and the crowd like it. It's good for the t-shirt selling, everything.
You love it, t-shirts
yeah.
selling.
I love the crowd. They're the best in England.
Now we're sitting in the coolest car in drag racing, but it's not what you're going to be racing. That's behind us.
Yes.
You're well known for one of the few trucks in Pro Mods.
Yeah.
Yeah. But tell us about this one.
This one is an old T-shirt tree, 1923 car.
1923?
It's a real hot rod from Sweden. Started building 1964. I buy it, crash it, and then we rebuild it and paint it like the old truck behind us.
It's beautiful. It gets a lot of attention in the paddock.
Yeah, they like it. That's good.
More attention seeking.
I hope so.
Good luck. Well, Keith, what a weekend fans have had, and what a season, actually. How are you going to top it next year?
Well, that gets asked every year, and I think we generally manage to do it. But there are always lots to be done in the closed season. People think the closed season's a really quiet time. It's not. It's very busy. Lots of arranging for the events next year, the rounds, maybe new tracks coming in, maybe other tracks wanting to change dates, new rules and regulations in some classes. Racers upset with that, some racers happy. The winter's a very busy time. Fuel will remain top fuel. It's a Formula 1 class. There's not a lot of changes. There's more cars coming out, and we've seen an absolute hero, or a new hero, in Noah Stutz this year from Switzerland. Lots of other drivers coming out. Moving down the alcohol ranks, top methanol dragster, top methanol funny car. Fantastic, well supported. I can't see any changes there. Pro Mod, there's a few new cars coming out. A few changes here and there. Maybe some more rounds. Pro Stock is probably the one we've got to look at the most over the next few years. It's a manufacturer's class for manufacturer's cars, very big in America. But sadly, or the way it is, we have to drive the same cars here. And they're American cars, American engines, American chassis, American tune-ups. It doesn't work. It's supposed to represent what you see on the road, and you don't see American cars on the road anymore. Not really. So the bottom line is we've got to find a Pro Stock car and a Pro Stock class that will embody, excuse the pun, European bodies and European engine combinations. And that's something we've got to work on over the next couple of years. And I think there'll be some new tracks coming in. Just today I've met with 2 other European countries that are very keen to build new tracks over the next 2 or 3 years. So I think the future's looking absolutely great, or the future's orange, as they say.
Well, really looking forward to next season. We've got a bit of a wait though, but make sure you join us for racing back here in May.